Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the LCO.
Base race? It's a base race. They're marching. They're flashing. They're going to go for this one. I don't believe this. I do not believe this.
Only aim for perfection. Ain't no half stepping. I'm gonna take you back. Spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who won it? No problem. We mobbing in the city.
Champagne!
Do or die, it's either all or nothing. Best believe I'm leaving out with something. Anytime I got the crowd jumping, throwing rings, know they fist.
Just evaporated. Gudo locking them all in place, linking up with Kiyosei. That's an ace.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's another week of the LCO delivered by Menulog. We're live, we're ready for more games, more fun, and we've got Kitty, Skimmy, and Rusty here to bring you all the damn fun as well. Guys, how we feeling? Rusty, what's going on? You're smiley today.
Yeah, I'm feeling great, mate. I spent a week locked in my room playing video games, so obviously I'm just good to go, ready to get back into the LCO.
That's exactly what you want to hear as well. Now, look, we got a lot on today, but we had a lot on last week as well. So let's jump on in and have a quick look at those replays from what happened last Tuesday. You know, there was a couple of big games on then, and oh, did we see? Was that the day with the Mammoth upset, or was that the Monday? I can't even remember now.
That was day one, I believe.
Day one.
With the Mammoth
Day one was the upset, yeah.
This was the first real banger of the day as well. If you remember Chiefs, that was our play of the day. Huge wombo combo. Very aggressive drafts from the Chiefs as well is something that we've seen pretty consistently, where not every team is adopting that, not just locally, but abroad. So they were kind of the standouts of the first 2 weeks for me. And then we saw, I want to say, a very chaotic and fun second game, but the third and fourth for me felt extremely one-sided. Yeah. And that was kind of my summary of the day, is there was two big games to kick us off.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, but it was obviously one that sets us up for today. Today, of course, being week 3 now. We're getting real deep into this strength of schedule, or, you know, the schedule, so we can see who's having the easier runs towards that second part, towards the second groups, right, before we start to get those rematches happening. And even, look, some of the games today are pretty interesting as well. And it will change up the table too. There's a few teams that are all tied up on some similar score lines. We'll have a look at that in a moment. And today's one of those days where that is going to shift. That's going to change.
It is going to change, and I think something to pick up is to not underestimate Dials. They're currently placed second, and I think that's an absolute achievement because I believe that Dials, it's been a while since they've been in the top 2. Yeah. And I think a huge credit is to go to Dante because he has been on top of his game. Yeah, he's been doing so damn well. Now let's have a look at that schedule we're having a quick powwow about. First, Chiefs, the only undefeated team at the moment, 4-0. Tied second, Dials and Pentanet there. Fourth place, you got Peace, you got Order. Still neck and neck on 2-2 score lines. And then Mammoth Kanga in that 6th position. Gravitas, the only team without a win so far. But have a look at these 3 ties for 2nd, for 4th, for 6th. We have a few teams today that could be shuffling up, shuffling down. Who knows which way they're going to go? I guess we'll see once we get there. So far, though, Rusty, please tell me, do you think this is what we expected at the start of the split?
I wouldn't say this is exactly where we expected it to be at the start of the split. I mean, Dials is a little bit higher so far, Order a little bit lower so far, but of course they've had some very different run-ins with teams they've been up against in the first 2 weeks. And I think Peace is probably also realistically well positioned somewhere we might have expected has been the biggest surprise in differences between like expectations and actual play on the Rift. But I would say they're pretty close to where we would have all had them.
Yeah, I feel like, look, I think a lot more people thought Order at least would have been higher, and I don't know many people that would have had Dial so far up so far, but they've got a couple of hard games coming up. Speaking of, let's have a look at today's schedule, what we're going to be looking at here. 6 p.m. A pretty interesting one. We got Kanga, we got Mammoth looking to break that 1-3 scoreline. 7 p.m. you got Peace and Chiefs, which, look, you'd love to say it could be a close game, but Peace just have not been performing as we've expected, so you wouldn't be surprised if Chiefs take that one. 8 p.m. This is actually our game of the week because it is a very important one for not only Order to win, but Direwolves can solidify that position. Still sitting there in second. PGG and Gravitas there at 9 p.m. as well. Is going to be a potentially interesting one if Gravitas show us what they're capable of, but it might be a bit difficult for that to be their first W on the board. Out of those games, Skimmy, Which one are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, match of the week is going to be a hard one to pass up on because it feels like that's going to be the case of like who is outright our third best team right now. Chiefs leaps and bounds better than anybody else. It looks like in second, PGG have stolen the show. Third case scenario is Order, great team. Obviously, went to MSI, come back, found their groove. They played the Twist of Fate with the Wukong. That looked exceptional. The mid jungle starting to gel together. But Direwolves, how high is their ceiling? So, good reason to be excited for that game at 8.
Yeah, just a few things to look at there. Now, before we move on from that, Kitty, anything you want to say about those two teams? Do you think Direwolves can take it?
Direwolves actually does have the chance because I think they are currently at the top of their shape, and I think Dante and especially who's the mid laner for Direwolves again? Quick!
Oh,
Not Kyose.
Not Kyose, Suman. Yes, Suman is looking absolutely like a monster, and I think they might actually have a chance to take that win and stay second in that ladder.
Very good, very good. Now let's see how that game goes. We will see how it goes once we get there. But now it's time to talk about patch notes because it's a new week, but it means it's a new patch we're playing on, and a lot happened. There was a lot of changes. These are just 4 of the ones that are ones we're going to talk about, but then there's also a few more slides after this. Rusty, you're the patch man. Talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, the TLDR is that there is no TLDR, right? Like there's just so much. And if you blink, you miss. There's mid-patch updates as well where other things have changed, right? Things that have been nerfed have been rebuffed again. Mage items buff, Grievous Wounds nerf, tank items buff, fighter items I think is a soft nerf, Umbral Glaive nerf, Blade of the Ruined King I don't remember, Kraken Slayer nerf, turrets nerf but only for outer turrets. That's like the actual TLDR.
Any speedrunners in the chat?
I'm pretty sure Bork was more healing now because Grievous got strengthened.
Did it? And they might have nerfed the percentage damage because that seems to be a lot of staple builds. That was my guess, but I don't remember.
I think it was lifesteal.
But they were trying to get rid of a lot of like there's a lot of like Guinzu's Blade of the Ruined King like type builds that have been getting stacked by a lot of ADs, and I think they want to not just like phase it out but bring it down to normal so that we can get more of the crit builds coming back in again.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Umbral Glaive, the cooldown just got reduced.
5 seconds.
Yeah, 5-second difference. So that's it for the attempted TLDR of this patch. Yeah. There's a lot of champs patched in this one as well. So
yeah.
Look,
here we go.
Look how many changes we've got to champions. It's maybe a quarter of the champs in the game. Anyone want to talk about this, or is it too much to talk about?
There's obviously a whole bunch of information that you can try and digest from this one, but the most important one, or the most exciting one for me, has to be Zeri. Zeri's come back. They're really trying to shove, like Rusty said, her down into the direction of playing towards critical chance, right? Try and bin away this idea of Titanic Hydra, Trinity Force, be an absolute menace.
Yeah.
Tanky, fast, you can't catch her, but she kills everybody. So we've already seen that being played around the world, other regions on 12-11. I expect this is going to be one of those must-ban champions. Tarek also got a really nice quality of life change. Don't know if it's going to be a case of you have to always play this champion, but a flat mana cost, on his heal, more health that's going to be returned as a result of that one, a longer stun, a shorter cooldown on that one too. Going to be some quite cool combinations with that, like a Kalista Tarek, even a Tristana Tarek, some AD carries that we're already seeing. Time Kench obviously needs no further introduction. Maybe, potentially, an option for him to be played in the top lane as well. And the only other one that really excited me was Samira. Obviously, we've got a big dominance of these laning bullies like the Lucian, Nami, like the Kalista. If they're removed, traditional AD carries like that can certainly look to shine. So if we do have another set of scenarios where like 4 or 5 ADs are being banned in the draft, then Samira might get a chance to shine.
It's one of those things as well, like you see that Lee Sin buff coming through. I don't think it was too big of a buff, but it's a buff nonetheless, and we have a lot of Lee Sin players, at least in our league, so I feel like that's one that could definitely impact what we're seeing in our drafts, Rusty.
Yeah, especially with a lot of what feels like limited options in the jungle role right now. There feels like there's like maybe 2 or 3 champions that are just like the best in slot.
Yeah.
And then it just gets down to like the A tier wish wash of like, we don't actually know like what the best option is here. So adding Lee Sin perhaps back to the mix can help a lot for us.
And another AD jungler, which I have heard internationally has been a bit of an issue. Another AD jungler, Kitty, that you wanted to touch on specifically was Viego. And he seems to be a cursed champ here right now.
The day where Viego exceeds 3k damage in an LCO game will be the day that we get good luck. But let's talk about Viego because I think he is currently the biggest bait that we have in LCO. He's currently 2-5 with a 28% win rate, which is really, really worrying in terms of how popular this champion is. And I actually believe it's because they are struggling to get a reset in these team fights where the games have less skirmishes in that early game because teams are avoiding and just trying to scale for that win con. And obviously, I just mentioned that it did a very significant amount of damage where it's very low, 2.5 I believe it was one game, and 2.7 in the other game where they're doing less damage in support. So I think maybe it's not suited for OC. I do see it picked in other regions as well, but maybe it's just not suited for these OC teams just quite yet, or haven't seen it perform just quite yet either.
Yeah, I think it's been picked against Wukong, 3 times now, and Wukong had been so strong in 12-10. We saw he did get a nerf coming into 12-11 at least. So do we think that's going to impact this win rate with Wukong, or do we still think it's going to be pretty high up there in the PB?
I mean, I think that the thing with Viego is that he's not reliable as an engage source, and that is something that is missing from a lot of teams right now in their drafting, and that means execution is a lot harder, and with that difficulty there, the teams that have the Viego comps are suffering more. So this is where like Lissandra comes in for Mammoth, and their 1 win was like huge for them. They needed that, but then they also comped Viego with a Kayle, right? So like they built something for that jungler, where I think most teams in OSA drafting jungler because it's just a strong pick, and then suffering the consequences through the rest of their draft.
Well, would you say teams are looking for their own sort of wombo combo?
I wouldn't say wombo. I think they are kind of like we have there's a lot of nuance to this. There's teams that are looking to outscale other teams and then just failing early game because they're not the better team. There's things like that. I don't think anyone so far has tried to draft an outright wombo at all.
Okay.
But there has been reset comps for sure, like Viego, Jinx, etc., Lissandra.
Well, you did mention scaling, and I mentioned combo, and you've actually got together a couple of combinations with
this.
centers. Just a few, if we throw these up. So this is some bot lane combinations that Rusty has found works well with Senna. So Rusty, continue to tell us about these wombo combos that you've selected.
It's just Tahm Kench, isn't it, Rusty?
Yeah, it is. There's only really Tahm Kench as a combo for Senna. That's the whole graphic. We can just wrap. No, I mean, the reason that this exists is because I think we've only seen Tahm Kench locally. We've seen one Seraphine ban away from a Senna pick. But Senna so far is 1-4 in the LCO. Not a very good win rate. And these are all of the flexible options that exist with a Senna to make it more flexible and give it winning situations. So to me, it's really surprising that we just default to Tahm Kench every single time and always have the TK farming. Like Galio, I think, is a really good flex pick. It's one of the highest priority for me. If your mid laner plays Galio, you can actually just flip it down to being a farming bot laner as well if you wanted. Seraphine, we're seeing CLG is the best team in the entire planet right now. They're winning worlds if they keep getting Seraphine. They even won without it. Shout out Juves, even though he's the academy coach, doing it for them on LCS. Gragas, Nautilus, they all kind of fit the same box here as Maokai, right? Tanks that can farm. Sejuani can also do the same thing. They all have different circumstances where they're good. Maokai has a W that has to hit you, right? It is targeted. That crowd control can be invaluable in certain matchups. You can't go cleanse into Maokai because he has a Bramble Smash as well, right? So, like, there's utility there. Sejuani couples with melee carry junglers can be flexed with top lane right now according to the rest of the world's drafts. Put it with a Senna, it still works. Swain, range champion. Ashe as a support can work with farming Senna in patch 12.11. Caitlyn, I think, can work as like a bully if Senna's the support, just double push champions that auto-attack on site. And Ziggs is a very similar thing, right? Just all pushing, trying to hit the turret and break the turret. These are like literally 12 champions right there. 2 of them seen in the LCK and the Singed and the Yasuo already by T1. Like, you can't tell me there's not flexibility with Senna that isn't just TK.
And we were talking a little bit just before we went live, right, about the fact that bot lane probably has the most flexibility. You talk about Senna and all the combinations there. Kallista's the exact same. I mean, Keria is a bit of a beast.
There's a Camille Kalista.
Keria is just like, whatever, I'll just literally play anything you like. We're engaged. So bot lane is all about, like, what can you play and how much 4D chess can you do in the draft?
That's ridiculous. Anyway, let's see if any of the LCO players are watching and maybe slide something in there into their draft coming into the later games today. But for now, we still have a few things to talk about. Mostly what you guys have sent in from the fans this week. We came up with something a little bit creative, asking if you could make a brand new Drake, a brand new dragon that you could put into League of Legends, what would it be? At LCO, jump on over there on Twitter and let us know your damn answers. And we already have some submissions, so let's have a look at what there has been from you guys created at home. Can't wait to see these ones. A Lexicon coming in with a Mercurial Drake gets tenacity per Drake. Soul is a pseudo spell shield that halves the duration of the next CC applied. Cooldown could be like 30 seconds or something. Yeah, I love the ambiguity. Or if hit with CC, rebound a copy of it away. What? With some cooldown. so tenacity comes into play?
We had in a different MOBA something quite similar to this, where you just got like a CC immunity for a bit, and whilst it was really fun, tanks in any form of engage just got literally binned because they could never find an opportunity, right? Because like you look at situations where Flash is down, I can go to that lane to try and gank, but if they permanently got CC, it just meant that tanks were just or engage of any source was just completely binned. So that quickly got removed. This looks insanely broken, like you said.
It's so broken,
so
man.
broken.
Cleanse
well, this
has
one's-
like tenacity after use as well, right? For like 3 seconds. Imagine that with this Drake. Just
Just
immune.
take 0
Broken
damage.
immune.
Absolutely
AD carries
broken.
would literally just be ice skating.
We
Yes.
actually have a lot of submissions today, so let's jump through them a little bit faster. Hopefully they're not all as in-depth as Alexicon's one. JB, shorter, that's what we like to see. Twisted Drake, X% lifesteal per Drake, don't mind that. Dragon Soul, 2 players from each team is deleted. And Rift becomes Twisted Tree. Okay.
Okay.
I dig
Choose your
this.
I'm
champions.
vibing.
I dig this.
I like that a lot.
You like it?
No, what you do, right, is you just cut off top lane.
Yeah.
True,
So
it doesn't
once you
exist
get
anyways.
the rift, it just cuts off top. It's just completely isolated. The only way to get to top is through the base.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tapoon did show us last split that it is a useless position anyway, right? And that's what he's put on Twitter. Now I think we have at least one more to have a look at. Let's see who it is, what it is, and it's the Salt Miner, Desert Drake. Lowers movement speed around jungle buffs and camps. Salt provides a limited tremor sense. What is a tremor sense?
That'd be
Is it the
Oh, that's like
Rek'Sai
Rek'Sai.
thing?
Rek'Sai.
Oh, yeah,
Sparrow,
okay.
Tremor.
I don't mind that.
A limited tremor sense.
I like
So-
the idea of
Small
the
range.
lowered movement speed. As it's like the opposite of the Cloud Drake, right?
I want Desert Drake.
Champions with.
You wanna
I was
I
I
legit
saw
read
this
that,
on
guy.
Drake.
Honestly,
Right,
read that as
like-
Desert Drake, and I was
know.
like, man, oh no.
But surely,
Everyone gets ice cream.
yeah, surely if you get this dragon, you just can't play champions with invisibility or just stealth, like because you get shown all the time, right?
Or, add it to the pool of the other extra Drakes that we've come up with already. I think we have one more to have a look at before we're done here. Who is it? What is it? We have Dale Preble, Void Dragons, where portals spawn around the map and will randomly teleport you to a different one when you enter. RNG in a skill-based game. Hey, Drakes give bonus AP damage to autos on hit, which converts to true damage
Oh
with
my.
soul.
So just put Hex Gates in the bin, and we just play this, and we're just popping out of portals like
Yeah.
like a
What if,
Veigar.
what if you portal into the enemy base by accident? Because it's random, right?
Yeah. Imagine if you BD'd a game with that. Like you literally, you've got no TP, no wall,
True.
and you just got Void portal into the base and backdoor and
Dude,
win.
what about a Zillion Drake, where once you get soul, the map goes back 10 minutes?
What?
I don't know.
How does the game?
Someone write that in.
You
You
can
can still agree
Yeah,
with
so
you.
if you bin the early game, you get the soul point. Your
Yeah.
win con is you get to play the early game
And
again.
Herald's back again.
Yes.
It's,
A
That's so
clock
good.
Drake. Beautiful.
That's so good.
I don't know.
I know. Wait, Shyvana's just gonna go like crazy
Yeah.
with that. You're just gonna be all about those dragons. But we haven't actually seen a Shyvana yet, even though she's been a little bit stronger in the old
I hope
solo
one
queue.
day.
Yeah, we have
One
one.
day again.
Ask,
Not
ask
since.
Tian to play Shyvana top
Shyvana
again.
top. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe one day you'll be able to crank that one. Either way, that is it for From the Fans of watching that. Maybe some suggestions on the couch came up there that you could submit yourself at LCO
Yeah,
on
Desert
Twitter
Drake,
and
flesh it out.
go Dessert Drake. Tell us what kind of dessert we all get when you get the soul. Now, look, we've got to start talking about the first matchup of the day. It's Kanga up against Mammoth for game number 1. And I'm keen to see just what they're going to be able to do for us because both these teams want that win that little bit more. But let's talk Kanga first here, Skimmy. So, what are we going to expect from them today against the Tusks?
Well, a little bit of consistency, actually, because the last 3 games, they played 3 different rosters. So this time around, they're going to actually play the same as they did up against Gravitas. So Lionel still in the bot lane as the starting AD carry. Across the board, I mean, they've looked pretty strong. I mean, Fighto's played 3 games of this Azir. He's the only person in the entire league right now playing the Azir, saying that, look, if we're going to scale in the mid lane, I'm going to be the one to try and really drive that one home. So
Yeah.
I'm expecting to see that one again. Whether or not that means that other mage players look to try and slow down pace and say, let's deviate away from the Sandras and Aries and the Blancs and let's also play for scaling, begs the question. But I really enjoyed this. Obviously, Liv brings a world of experience, a counter-pick matchup into that Fiora where he said, no, it doesn't exist. And certainly a place on the map to keep your eye on.
Now, what are we expecting them to sort of pull out in this new patch? Do you think that this patch is going to sort of favor what we've seen from Kanga so far? Azir, I don't think there was any of those changes, and we might see some more there.
Fighto is actually a really renowned Cassio player, and we
He
do
is,
know
yeah.
that
True, he
Leanders
is.
has been buffed because Riot wants a bit more variety in terms of that mid-champion item pool, but maybe we can see a Cassio coming out of Fighto. He is very good at it, and I think maybe we're just going to see some more top-focused play, because we did see Lionel pick the Jinx, which is good for scaling, but they didn't really play towards it. And they did have Hayden Tieng Sii roaming towards top anyways, so maybe that's their thing.
Okay, that's an interesting one. It was Lionel there in ADC again today, wasn't it? So,
Yes.
all right,
Yeah,
finally getting some consistency there. They've gone through 3 so far, but it's Lionel at the moment going into this matchup. Now, let's start to talk about Mammoth and what we think could be their strong suits here. I have heard that, you know, they are one of the only teams that have played Kalista so far, but I've also heard from you guys talking out the back that Kalista's pretty broke right now.
Yeah, more than pretty broke, I think, in certain situations. Kalista Renata is being seen everywhere. They were the first people to really, the first team to play Kalista Renata locally. They were playing it into an Ezreal Karma, and I think everyone had mobility, however, so they struggled to find purchase with that duo. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them pick that. However, note that on this new patch, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Zeri instead. Voice is, I would say, of the LCO, the Zeri player. Always was, always forced to pick, was so comfortable on it. And even when she was starting to get phased out, was trying to see if crit builds could work. So that's my big lookout here for Mammoth with draft, is if we've got Kalista added to the list, we've seen success with the Lucian Nami, we add Zeri to that. And they have a lot of strategic diversity through their 2v2 bottom.
Okay, now, you know, roll for roll here, what are we expecting to be the strong points for Mammoth? Of course, with Pap right up top again. How do you think he's going to go against Lived? Because we've seen both of these two succeed a lot recently.
I don't think we've seen Papryze win lane.
Oh, really?
That's the biggest difference for me.
Yeah, that's the point
What
of
about in the
difference.
KO game? Or does
Well,
that
no,
not really
that's the
count?
difference,
Dude, he got
because
killed under tower.
You
Yeah, I
look at
guess
his
so.
gold, he's like down. He's down like 900 gold by 10 minutes. But I think the credit to Papryze is he's clearly got the stability, the understanding of the role, the lane, the idea of what his team wants about him that says, look, I might fall down a lane, but I'm going to scale it into this game and we're going to win, right? Complete polar opposite, in my opinion, to Lived, who is a bit of a lane bully. 10 minutes in, he's up CS, he's up experience, he's looking to try and be that driving force. So I think two clashing styles, even though they would have quite comparable champion pools.
Yeah, true. I mean, I'm actually expecting Liv to push and Papryze to just deal with it and try and scale into the game. What I can note from Papryze from his 2 games so far is that he doesn't know the limits of how aggressive he can be yet in the LCO. So he's not able to exploit windows to be aggressive when the enemy jungle is missing. So you'll often see him just zoning himself away from waves that he doesn't need to.
Okay,
So,
well, we have a graphic as well to throw up, a head-to-head between these two we've been having a quick chat about. And here's the stats to back it up. So, look, we do see Pap with a whole lot more involvement in terms of the kills and even just, you know, in the raw numbers there, as well as the damage to objectives. But do you think that's slightly boosted from that Kale game, just being able to push up a storm?
Probably.
Yeah.
That's a lot of damage to objectives. Does that include, like, Baron, etc.?
I think we found out it did, but
I think it's
we'll
all
get that
inclusive.
double check.
Well, then, yeah, that'd be...
Yeah.
I mean, my
He
man,
just 1v9 as like, hell,
Well,
let's be honest, he just literally came into that one and said, I've returned, I will pick this champion, I will win us the game. Rest easy, Mammoth fans, we're returning to glory.
Do we expect either of these two to pick a tank today? Because obviously Liv played that Ornn last week, and we know it's moving into that tank meta, or more of a tank meta with the tank item buffs. Do you think Papryze fits that role, or is he more of a carry kid?
I think Papryze can play the tank, so does Liv, because we did see him play the Ornn last night. And something I think can be beneficial for both teams is that Papryze's team, which is Mammoth, can pick the Viego, because we see Reufury playing a lot of the Gallia, or in solo he's playing a lot of Gallia, and some of the Veigar, which provides that CC that Viego is lacking. So perhaps we can see Viego do well in the next coming game, which we've also seen Borna playing a lot of Viego as well, and he did get that win with the Jinx alongside the Azir, so maybe this could be a boost stat for Viego, and I'll be very happy.
Are there any champs that were buffed that we expect Lionel to be picking up, or is his special little champ pool pretty much untouched?
Ezreal Karma.
Ezreal
Karma.
No, the Heimerdinger, man, it's going to
The
come out.
No shot he plays the Donga.
He will play Donga.
Donga!
Look,
surely!
Look, he's
Send
going
a Donga?
to come out, smurf, and say, you don't need the other 280 carries. I'm the starting one for a reason, because the Heimerdinger gets it done.
It's true. It is
What does it
true.
get done,
Kitty,
Stevie?
I have been told you have a friend
Sorry.
on the phone yet again for our first pre-match interview. Who is it?
Okay, let me ask. Beep, boop, boop. Hello, are you a fan of Heimerdinger, and are we expecting to see Heimerdinger in tonight's match? Hello, Meifan.
Hello.
So we are going up against Lionel today. Do you think there's a chance that he might pick Heimerdinger?
I have no clue, but honestly, I've never seen Hammered in any of my solo queue matches, so
Oh.
maybe it's good if he picks it. I don't know.
Hey, a little bit of something out of left field. Now, of course, you know, the jungle, it's changing a little bit going into 12.11. Are we going to see anything special from you guys today, or do you just want to tell your take on it? Do you think it's stronger, weaker? What are we going to see?
Honestly, jungle is still pretty much the same. I still think Wukong's pretty broken. You still have your Viego, it's good blind. I don't know, some other things, maybe Graves. I love playing Graves. That's like my most played solo queue champion. But honestly, it's pretty much the same as previous patch.
Cool.
But something that's not the same is that you guys have a different support, and especially being the jungler yourself, do you think with the addition of LEG, it's changed the team identity and how you guys are kind of playing the game out?
Honestly, yeah. I think Rocco is a really good scaling player. Like, I don't think anybody can dispute that. Sean he's a bit more versatile. He can go in and he can also scale. So it's a good match for Voice. Like if he wants to play aggressive in lane, he can. If he wants to scale, he also can. So yeah, it's good.
Very
Also good for me because then I don't have to call all the shots.
How's Papryze feeling about going up against Lived, since Lived has been playing relatively decent over the last couple of weeks?
I don't know if I should be saying this on behalf of
Hey,
Papryze,
don't.
Okay, it's okay. You guys got a really convincing win against Peace last night. So what do you think was the contributing factor that led you guys to that upset?
KO diff, honestly.
KO
It's
diff?
just KO's TOP.
Yeah. That's essentially it. All right, we're going to wrap the interview up there. Thank you, Meifan, and good luck today in your game.
Good luck, Meifan.
Thank you.
I thought he was going to, like, leak a strat. So I was like,
Yeah,
hey, no, it's okay. Look, you don't need a strat.
I was expecting him to say top was going to be easy today or something, you know?
Yeah.
Ready for a pap diff.
Well, sorry, guys, for stealing away the content. I didn't mean to do that. But at the same time, look, it happens.
Maybe
I
they have a spicy
didn't want any
pick.
mistakes made. But guys, get your Twitch points ready because it's time for the Dare fan vote. Tell us up there somewhere who's going to win this one. Is it going to be Mammoth? Is it going to be Kanga? I feel like this is
Always
one
get
of
that
the
wrong.
games.
Always get it wrong.
Yeah, you're getting there. You're so good. I didn't even ask you. You're doing it somewhere. Anyway, someone could win some points. Let's have a look at our predictions. I feel like we could have a split here. Has anyone gone for Kanga? Skimmy.
Skinny and
You
Zed.
have. So you believe.
Look, you know what? I'm going to throw him a bone, you know. I'm trying to become an Australian resident, so I'm going to chuck out the kangaroo there and say, up the boys.
Yeah, well, we're all trying to be residents of
Cavemen.
Antarctica or wherever mammoths locally were. Thousands
Fans of
and
Ice Age 2.
yeah, that too. I miss Thid. He's a good dude. Now, I feel like Mammoth, just from what we've seen so far, I like their strength as a composition. And coming off of the high of that win against Peace last week, I think they're just going to be able to take it over Kanga. I just like what I've seen from them a little more.
I'm enjoying the addition of LEG. I think he really suits the way Voice plays because he
Yeah.
is that aggressive ADC that needs the engaged support. And we do know that LEG plays a lot of engaged support, and he did really well on that Nami. So he's definitely going to be the point to look out for me.
Is Yumi still strong? Is there a chance we get some extra
Yeah.
Yumi out of any of these teams?
Yumi Zeri,
Yeah.
broken.
Ah.
Broken.
Yeah.
Broken.
So Rusty, so we might see it,
Oh, yeah.
and you're not happy about it.
No. Bard's really good right now. I'm just throwing that out there. As a counterpoint, Bard genuinely good right now. I'd
Yeah.
like to see more Bard picked, but I don't know if anyone that is left in the LCO plays Bard besides Bulldog.
That's true.
True,
I
yeah.
did see it
We
at the
saw
top
his
of a
magical
couple of
journeys,
people's
though.
like
Yeah, we can see
competitive tier lists. Because obviously most of the tier lists I see are like solo queue ones, but there's a few people throwing out like the competitive ones up there, and Barber's like real high
Bard
tier.
S tier.
Maybe
Yeah.
Bard can be picked against those teams that heavily prefer Rift Herald like PGG, and you just kind of dunk a
Yeah, you
ulti
could-
onto those.
It just gives you engage, right? Like
Yeah.
so many comps need engage. If you're gonna go Viego, like have a Bard comp, right? Or Rakan. Just pick more
Rakan.
Rakan.
Yep.
It
I
got
want to see
buffed.
more Rakan.
It's even stronger.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what do we think we're going to get the Yumi? Do we think we're going to get maybe something crazy again down in that bot lane?
wouldn't
What's
be
going to be
surprised.
paired with Lionel?
Well, I do feel like Voice and LEG should have a bit of a lane diff in that regard because they will play a lot more aggressively, probably have a lot more resources thrown their way, whereas
Okay.
Lionel and Tieng Sii, it might just be a case of like Hayden just going through a bit of her own, but
Yeah.
They both play Callista.
They do.
So that is going
They
to be a
do.
heavily contested pick because Lionel also plays a bit of Kalista. They have a different style of playing Kalista. Usually when I see Lionel on the Kalista, he plays with an Enchanter. He's usually saving those supports instead of pairing with an engaged support. But we do know Ali will pick those melee supports for that Kalista. So different playstyle, so I don't know what to expect.
Okay, so do you think we're going to see Ali G looking for something a bit more engage heavy, or are we expecting it to go sort of the other way?
Oh, it depends on the bands. Like, more than anything else, it depends on the bands. Because Lucian Nami's really good still, right? But like we've been seeing a lot of Lucian center bands across the rest of the world on 12.11, specifically LCS, LEC. Zeri is pretty high on the ban list for the LCS. So I think that like that kind of has a bleed-on effect to the LCO because I think that's the first two major regions that are on this patch. So that's the patch that they've been watching. So if that's happening, then yeah, we can have a lot more diversity in bot lane. It may not just be an Ezreal Karma from Kanga. It could be the Kalista Tech or the Yuumi Zeri.
I'm liking where this is going. I'm really liking where this is going. And I feel like, look, even in mid, there's going to be a whole bunch of contention coming through both these teams as well. Like Fighto, I really want to see him on Cass now. I know that Cass can scale really well.
If they ban the Azir, it's possible, man, for sure. Yeah.
I feel like there's just such an opportunity for that.
Trist mid, Hammerdinger bot lane. That's it.
Hey?
I think they're the only team that actively plays an AD
Money
mid
moves,
champion.
bro,
I
right there.
thought you said you didn't believe in the Donga.
I don't. That's
But you just want to see it.
Yeah,
be pretty fun.
Why not?
We can get a Lulu and we get Yodel synergy.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah,
back to
true.
Yodels.
Yodel
I'm back in TFT. I'm on the wrong couch. I'm on the wrong broadcast. It's fantastic.
This man. Now,
I love it.
It would be sick if we did get something a little creative. You guys did say you've been watching the other broadcasts, the other leagues over the weekend, and there's been just a plethora of different drafts all across all regions.
T1 is psycho.
You're
They're
a
just
psycho.
picking whatever. I swear they just roll the dice. Carriers like I'm
What
playing
about
this.
that
work it out.
Yasuo comp, right? We were trying to rack our mind about why they're playing Yasuo in the bot lane. You're like, okay, so what's a win walling? And like, honestly, all the champions are going into, would that not be like Yasuo's worst nightmare? Like a knockoff, a stun, and all the rest of it? And, oh, T1 diff, by the way.
Well, let's see if we get some of that creativity. Ladies and gentlemen, Champ Select is ready for game one. Over to the casters.
Beautiful. Well, let's jump straight into this one then, shall we? It's Kanga taking on Mammoth. They're both 1 and 3. They're looking to really showcase, okay, with our 4 rosters, which has the higher potential. And look at that. We're getting pretty much everything we wanted. You ban away the Kale from Papryze, the Zeri, the go-to, and the Cassiopeia as opposed to the Azir.
And Kanga are going to get Ezreal Karma.
No
Which is
doubt.
exactly what we said was going to happen. We'll see where they choose to go with the rest of their draft because I think bot lane is mostly expected here by Kanga. Lucian taken away from Mammoth, Zeri taken away from Mammoth. Highlighted already how important that is. You could go for the Kalista, but I wouldn't go Kalista Renata yet. Maybe looking for a jungler, right? So at this point, Wukong, I think, is the first obvious choice. That is not an obvious choice. That is a Sejuani first pick, blind into, what, top lane?
Oh, I'm so happy. Well, I've been seeing a lot of the Sejuani, right? I've been seeing a lot of it being played top lane, absolutely. They pair it, though, with a lot of auto attackers, right, to try and really make it, guaranteed a stun. And it seems almost curious to me that you're first picking it. That's the biggest surprise, right?
Yeah.
Frozen Heart, Grasp. Usually don't run the flash. Usually it's been Ignite and TP. If that's the case, pair with Viego, fantastic. But I didn't expect it to be a first pick priority.
Because it's not.
Crazy.
I have strong opinions on Sejuani top, but I have to let the draft play out before I really
not just
stoke
first
the
pick
fire
Wukong?
of that opinion. I think that Sejuani top is good into tank champions.
Yeah.
I don't think that Sejuani top is good into every matchup, so Kanga just get a free counter pick. And now that Viego has been picked, that's obviously revealed. The only world this works is if it's like Kalista Sejuani flex, right? And like we've 5-headed the early game Mammoth were watching and Voice were like, this is it.
Well, Sej Senna's already off the board as well, right? So you've really like narrowed in and said to Liv, like, really, whatever you want, have at it. And he's just said GP's the answer.
Yeah, how about a free cleanse in kit, right, into the Sejuani?
And I'm pretty sure like GP and
And a
Gnar.
Trundle that's good into it.
GP and Gnar, like the biggest counters to it. You get the Trundle as well. And oh no, Kanga really having a field day so far.
And listen, I'm gonna preface this one more time with I have strong opinions on Sejuani top lane. So don't take everything I say as absolute fact, but I think so far pretty bad. Again, the expected karma for Kanga isn't going to be seen. They've actually pivoted. They prioritize things that deal with Sejuani. So they've seen the Viego, they've seen the Sejuani. That's almost a self-counter pick of the Nautilus here as well into the Trundle because he can just put the pillar up. And Ezreal has a disengage inbuilt-in kit already with E. So things not exactly speaking very strongly to me right now with Mammoth's composition. But what they do have, Skimmy, is a bunch of melee bruiser boys with auto attacks and auto attack resets.
And exactly what you want. If you've invested into the Sejuani so early on, you need to really have as much application available to you. So they banned away the Renata. The Castan's been banned away as well. This is the interesting talking point, right? I suppose that we want to expand more from this couch point, right? About, you know, if we are going to be having these tanks in the top lane, you'd want carries elsewhere. Castan's been seen a little bit more elsewhere in the world.
But it's seen into Victor and Azir
It
primarily,
is.
and Fighto is an Azir player, I think that's a pretty clear indicator that their 4-5 will be Azir, and then if Karma's not banned, probably Karma, and then they're just going to run the full disengage comp, right?
Absolutely.
High scaling, long range,
Karma
high
ban.
poke. The only challenge, I guess, that comes up now is what goes with this Ezreal now that the Karma and the Renata are both gone. Seeing the Nautilus revealed, depending on if mid lane is picked fourth or not here for Mammoth, things like Alistar are actually quite good. Right, because you've got the CC break, you can actually tank the Nautilus or the Sejuani engage and actually soak for your team comp if you wanted to. But there's still definitely plenty of enchanters in the sea. Just, you know, into a Nautilus adds that layer of risk, right? Nautilus and aggressive champion, if we're going to assume that from voice, has a pretty high chance of controlling the early game and winning lane.
Ban Azerif as well, right? Really making sure that there's no range or there's no scaling or there's no really oppression for them to look to try and play that style of gameplay, which was, you know, poke until they find the angle to fully all in and look to try and take you down. So what is the response here from Mammoth? What did they decide to go with? Because they've clearly invested very early in that this is all about the damage. They're going to get their AP source from the Veigar. That's nice. That's what Kitty mentioned before. Combining it with the Viego in the jungle. So that looks good. Hopefully this time he does recall inside that pixel bush though.
Yeah, they're really holding the AD option. So my first thought is the Veigar flexible with bottom, right? Is it just going to be a Veigar farming ADC position? Ezreal with Karma banned is a much more free lane than perhaps other champions.
You'd think that as well, but I mean, it's one of Reufury's main champions.
Of course.
So it would almost be like that bait of like, would we ever dare? Well, if it's not going to be the Azir, obviously another champion we discussed, right, about the scaling. Azir, Cassiopeia, Corki, Vector. Corki's coming back in, obviously not the strongest, but still insanely big damage at the last point of the game. And the Braum's going to come out too now, and it's got a fair few projectiles that it could actually block.
So, little fun fact as well, Braum Sejuani is a really nice comp. So, it's funny that the Braum is going to be seen on the other side here, just because you have the 4-stack auto attack passives. Nautilus, the most common champion comboed with it is the Kai'Sa. So, again, that's a nice choice by Mammoth. Aggressive early game, scaling through mid. They have a combo with top lane as well, Sejuani Viego. And just a lot of auto attacks across the board here. Very close range in your face.
Yeah.
Kanga, Gangplank very good at kiting, Trundle very good at kiting, Corki sits super long range with the Ezreal. That's the crux of their composition right there, right? And then Braum, if anyone makes a mistake, Braum and Trundle combos really nicely into like a soft engage, right? A pillar means that the Braum ultimate will be free, or just having a Braum Q connect guarantees with auto attacks, right? Stuns on all 5 members that are close range. And given that Mammoth are close range, the Braum value goes really high. Really high. It can soak a Veigar ultimate, it can soak Kai'Sa, W's, right? Like there's a lot of utility there from this pick from Tieng Sii. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they go, where most of the onus for Kanga is just not losing early. Mammoth want to win early.
And I'm so glad you sort of begun that conversation, right? Because you look at the Mammoth side and say, this looks very iconic, very charismatic of what is the Mammoth style of play, right? All in aggression, lots of control to make sure that if one goes in, the rest of the team can follow. But as you said, you know, it looks to me as if Kanga at every turn in this draft, they've got the results, got the resources, and got the return, the answers to say that as strong as you are, we might be able to try and dissuade the party and make your comp not look anywhere near as strong as it is intended to be. They've got a lot of poke, a lot of disengage, and a lot of chance to catch out Mammoth if they do make one wrong move. So overall, hedge your bets. Which one would you be preferring?
Which one would I prefer? I would prefer to not be Sejuani into this.
Big Happy said, first pick me that, Chief.
Yeah, just pick me Sejuani, I'll be fine. Mac did ask the question, will we see tanks? The answer is obviously yes. For this first game with no hesitation, a red side first pick here, and unfortunately, straight into a pause.
Straight into a pause. It's a bit of a shame there, so we can obviously continue our discussion as to what we expect and what to see before we jump into that coaching interview to get the thoughts from them as well. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it seems to be a bit of an interesting one. We do have the update that we can jump into our interview with the coach now as we do wait for this pause to be resolved. So as we do, Coach Rowe, thank you for joining us. How have you been this week, mate?
I'm going all right. We had a banger week, so I am excited for this one as well because this could be pretty pivotal.
I absolutely agree. I mean, both tied at 1 and 3 so far. Both rosters have made some significant changes this split, so where would you really be looking at finding your advantage going into this match against them?
I mean, as you already saw, right, the Sejuani has been picked up not just by us, but by a lot of people, and we thought it was pretty good. Didn't quite go the way I was expecting, but I'm still pretty happy with the result, pretty confident in where we've ended up, so hopefully we can make it work.
Yeah, looked like a really, really strong draft. Obviously, as you highlighted as well, Kanga have had a few good results or returns in the draft to try and counteract it. But on a final note, you mentioned it being a very important result. So how's the team feeling going then into week 3?
I mean, obviously the Peace win was a big pickup for us, and we didn't get quite the 2-0 power spike, the momentum, but either way, I do think we will have some momentum for a while now, especially if we can get the 2-0 this week, which I think is entirely plausible. So fingers crossed, we're feeling good and maybe we can feel better.
Well, that's all we can hope for. Fingers crossed for you as well there, mate. Well, I wish you boys the best of luck, and we'll jump straight into the one.
Thanks so much, man.
Alrighty, out of the pools, into the game.
Yeah.
Where should we look first?
I mean, the first big thing is that Tieng Sii flashed at level 1, right? An early move by Mammoth. They didn't use that to go any further. In fact, I would always say into a Braum invading at level 1 is super risky, right? There's not a lot that a Veigar can provide besides the Q and the auto attacks. There's no hard crowd control there, but fortunately for them, Kanga provides even less. Looking at top lane, obviously that's a rough start. This is the second place I was going to look anyway, Skimmy, because it is in Ignite for Papryze, and his lane has ended.
Yeah,
He's done.
And this is what I've seen a lot of, is they will run Ignite in top. If you take Flash, I guess you're a little bit chicken in this one, but it's into such a rough matchup. First strike for the GP, range melee. This is going to be a GP that's going to have a lot of money.
Yeah, Gangplank, first of all, as a champion, right, with the W there at level 3, gets out of stuns pretty freely. Papryze has started Q. I don't know if he leveled that until he got to the lane itself. W obviously is a bit of extra range damage that you could put on the wave if you wanted, but Gangplank by design should harass in lane, and as you are seeing, has been. Should be pretty much impossible to kill. If a jungler shows up, then there's a chance. I mean, Ignite can be saved for after the W, so they have that extra kill threat there, but the reality is, Liv starts in the tri-bush. That should be expected by Mammoth because they invaded at level 1, and the transaction from a flash from Braum is a winning top lane so far.
Certainly is. Itemization-wise, I have seen a bit of a variation as to what first item is Rush, but it usually looks like it's a Frozen Heart into the Frostfire Gauntlet, and then you just say, look, I've got lockdown potential. We jump on a target, and we make their life a bit of a living misery. But that misery right now is being copped instead because the GP is having so much fun. 15 CS to 2, and it's going to make Papryze's life ever so difficult trying to collect that CS underneath his own turret.
Yeah, Papryze is going to stop his recall, which is, I believe, the correct decision. He had enough health to stay there. He's going to catch the wave. Bot lane, while we're looking at this wave starting to stack up and push, keep in mind there is no flash for Tieng Sii, but with the exhaust there, he should be able to survive. One other point for Lionel is that it is the teleport, not cleanse, which, like, let's be honest, wouldn't go astray here. Teleport's super greedy. I mean, often seen with mages, right? Most mage champions that are mana intensive will go for that. And it could be that Lionel just wants to constantly stack, like, tier off cooldown as much as possible and abuse abilities. And it can force some really nice prio. But I still feel like he'd want cleanse.
Yeah, it might be a case of wish I had it after the fact of it being obviously selected in here, but it will at least equal out things, right? 2 teleports on either side of the rift for these teams to try and play around with and utilize once we do break away from that laning phase. So certainly a big consideration. Liv's right back to lane. Very early reset for him. He wants that Sheen and just makes the GP's life that much better again.
We'll force the teleport here out of the Sejuani. So if we take stock of this wave top real quick, CS advantage, wave pushing towards him. Gets confirmation that third bush was warded also. Knows that he has to be afraid of the enemy jungler because he is missing on the map. But let's see how he positions bot fighting.
Yeah, both junglers looking to try and make a gank happen right now. The pillar goes out and Allergy has to flash. He hit the hook, but it went into the pillar. And that's a bit of a disaster. But now topside as well, also copied a bit of damage as the Ignite is committed. And both junglers looking for success, but unable to confirm their kill. Now, that's a big dive. One keg will try and trim it. I think Meifan now just wants to zone them away so he loses all this CS underneath the turret.
Yeah, there was a world because Lived had already made the mistake, right? Jungler showing bottom. He's staying. There's a world that Lived, what he actually did was recall early, teleported back to the wave, because he had that teleport advantage, but instead he's going to miss most of these. Was waiting on his W cooldown, which basically means they're not going to be able to have a chance to go on him. So we'll catch some of this wave. Is still ahead, in reality, in his 1v1. And it was Meifan who shows himself, but at the same time, Foreigner with a successful gank bottom gets a summon a spell out of the Nautilus. Hex Flash may be the saving grace for Ali G. All things considered, that's the one spell you can really afford to get rid of down there to survive. But a repeat attempt could be much more successful.
Certainly could be. And Tieng Sii now will have his flash up and available, having burnt it at the very early mark on this game. As far as first ganks go, even if they aren't confirming a first blood, good pressure, to say the least, playing to the lanes that they want to try and get ahead at this point. As we are going to see the battle of the scalers, no doubt about it. The Corki taking on this Veigar. And yeah, test defeat, Fighto. What can you dodge? The Predator's gone on through and he's already saying, oh, that's enough for me.
It's actually pretty hyphy from Reufury. I like it. It forces out the W, and if you can make Corki use W in laning phase, that's like 100+ mana cost. So it's actually really influential in how that lane goes. He's going to have the push here as well, so it means he has first move. Lots of priority here for the side of Mammoth. You can see them now control what's placed, looking to hit the Drake. It should just be theirs.
Certainly looked to be the case. 3 Sheens, 2 Tiers. They've got a little bit of skirmishing potential, but no doubt about it. They'd probably all be looking at level 6 as their major point where they can say, we feel strong enough to contest the onslaught of what Mammoth's brigade is built to try and achieve. These Papryze is able to bring things back a little bit now, keeping Lived underneath his own turret instead, which is promising signs here. He's actually going to go for the Fimbulwinter, which isn't the most common, as I've seen from overseas, but certainly, once that's complete, a lot of stacks, a lot of tankiness, a bit of mitigation.
And also, yeah, it negates a bit of potential damage that can be harassed from like a Gangplank, right? Throwing Q off cooldown, if you hit some crowd control, perhaps it's got some value there. Either way, yeah, he's chosen to go for the tier build, and I think that's just because he's looking to use spells more in his lane. We'll see if he actually doubles down into completing that tier into it. Could just leave it at the tier, to be honest. And speaking of, like you mentioned tiers and Sheens, I mean, everywhere this game is scaling. There's just too many blue items. Sheens are aggressive early, but tiers are for scaling into the game. The fact that Corki and Ezreal exist means you shouldn't expect combat in those lanes.
Real pressure could be on here right now. The W goes out, the stun is connecting in, goes Meifan with a flash stun to claim the soul. To get the first blood, it really is just as easy as that.
Yeah, really well done by Mammoth. First of all, with vision in the enemy, blue buff, and then making aggressive plays. Fighto, a little bit off with the ward, not going to see anything, but still just has to sit back and disengage. Cleanse, not teleport, means that he is stuck with no health and no mana. They're going to try and give him the blue buff, but the cost is presumably going to be the full Herald already.
Be a huge transaction. And Mammoth certainly seizing the moment to make this happen. Great flash away there from Tieng Sii. The cannon barrage comes on down as he respawns. They've stolen the Rift Herald. And now Foreigner wants to try and get in there. He's actually flashed to Chomp to claim the Herald itself. He's trying to 1v3. He wants the Veigar, but it's a double kill for Meifan, who's just transformed to literally everybody. But at least they stole that Herald.
I mean, it's a 3-0 Viego right now. That is huge for Meifan. But yes, they steal the Herald. They do almost the unthinkable in contesting this in the first place. But this GP ult is so large. Reufury is effectively going to take half his health from the Gangplank ult just to get into the fight. Foreigner flashing forwards like you highlighted. Really wants to get this kill onto Reufury, but just not enough gas in the tank. Very well played by the jungler of Kanga to secure the objective and to not get out with his life, but to acknowledge that was his fate and to get the summon instead.
Certainly making a bad situation look a little bit brighter, but this will certainly not be a Viego that does only 2k damage overall. 3-0, the only one with a bounty in their game. It's going to be a little bit strong. It's going to be quite nice to talk about, and we are seeing a lot of the complements of what the comp is built to do, right, in close proximity. Everybody's slowed, the Sejuani passive applying, and if that's run out, Veigar cage comes on down. There's a hook, obviously, from the Nautilus. There's a lot of lockdown potential.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, right? The Sejuani Viego is just a really nice combo. This is the second time I think we've seen top jungle comboed by Mammoth as well. It was the Kale Viego prior. As Kitty mentioned before the game, they are one of the real Viego teams. They love the pick. So no real surprises that they'd find a combo that makes it work, especially one that sticks to the meta. Also looking like it's a Sunday, a Divine Sunder from Meifan instead of an on-hit build, and a Kraken to get nerfed on this patch. Shield Bow has its viability, but they're against a poke composition, so perhaps just wants the extra health there. So I would say Sunder is not the most seen. Perhaps it is on this patch.
Yeah, no PTA Kraken this time around. Just wants to try and shred through those key big targets to fuel those resets.
Yeah, but like by design, right? Divine Sunder is built into health builders normally. Trundle, Braum, I guess, but like you're not touching the Ezreal or the Corki with it. Doesn't matter as much against them.
Maybe it's just a Death Dance second into just pure tank Viego that will just be able to be durable enough to try and take you all on down. I guess ultimately you're looking at Kanga, right? You've got Sheens, you've got Coles, you've got everything. They're just saying, well, as long as we can keep it close, which at the 11-minute mark, it basically is dead even. They are so happy.
Oh, without a doubt. Tieng Sii about to face check Meifan. Full Mythic done is dangerous.
Oh, that's a flash, that's a hook, and that is a cage where this Braum really is not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think he was just... I mean, that's a very solo queue move from Tieng Sii, right? Reset towards mid lane. Just see if you can get onto the map and do something useful. But face checks Meifan, who was waiting anyway, had Ali G hovering. So no information, no knowledge on where Mammoth are.
Ooh. That a solo kill?
It is.
Flash away, but no, the Ignite connects and lived in shambles right there. A lane where you'd think he should exceed, but that first gank, and now Pappy's looking like a monster.
The Armored Papton at it again. Reufury.
Fighter's looking for it. He sidestepped this. One more cleanse! A Valkyrie auto and a flash away. Beautifully played there by Fighto, but he's burnt so much to guarantee the solo.
I mean, Fighto knows what he's about. He'll get the redemption kill for his top laner. In a 1v1 by himself. Rift held to be summoned.
Uh-oh, the numbers disadvantage, however, 3v2. Look at the damage! And Voice comes across and says, you think that's free tempo and a tower that's going to fall on down? Absolutely not. Now the Kaiser is certainly on the board.
Yeah, it's just a lot of oversteps here, it feels like, from Kanga in general. Keep getting caught out by Mammoth, making their job really easy. Just stand in a bush, wait for your opponents to overreach, and then capitalize and punish. They'll get themselves the kill. Ezreal ultimate not going to actually provide anything, was aiming for a fully pulled out Drake, which I think they would have seen with the wards they had. But nevertheless, not going to take it. Drake to be secured. That's 2 Drake Skimmy into the hands of Mammoth. Pretty happy with where they're at in this game. Both teams scaling, to be fair, also. We look at the Ezreal Corki and we say, yes, high damage scaling composition with a Gangplank when it comes to the 2 items plus. But it's not like a Veigar and a Kai'Sa don't scale. It's just in a different way.
Certainly not. Absolutely. But the timing's been impeccable, really, for Mammoth, right? The fact that he can get that kill on the top lane to complement it in the mid for the overstay to say, you summon a Herald, we'll get the second Drake. We're playing now for an Ocean Soul, which is if they needed any more sustain, right? They already want to run right at you. And if they can live through all the poke that an Ezreal, that a GP, that a Corki can look to try and permit, then scary times.
Without a doubt, very difficult even to have an extra Mountain Soul on a Sejuani in general. Looking to get that Braum passive off on Ali G, who chucks a hook out at the wall. Just posturing now pretty aggressively. I mean, Herald number 2 up in 50 seconds is the course of play here for Mammoth. Definitely something they can look towards when Viego and Nautilus are working together right now. And this is actually a pretty good time to get Voice involved. I would say if he doesn't have the Q evolved, he'd be very close, because I think it's a Dirk, not just 2 long swords.
I think so, yeah.
It might have a level breakpoint, though, that I'd have forgotten. Either way, with that evolved, ready to get into the mix and fight, you would assume.
Certainly would be keen, but a bit of pressure is being put once again towards this GP, really making sure that Liv isn't going to be too much of a menace. 33 stacks still remaining on this Cole, so you can certainly cash in and feel like an absolute pirate.
And Toff's been given nothing. Like, with all due respect to Liv, who has been solo killed, has been ganked by Meifan as well. Foreigner hasn't existed in this area of the map, and, you would expect that a fighting chance could be given to him with some kind of priority or vision control given to him by Kanga, but nothing really provided, just left to the wolves, and is absolutely struggling.
do look at the total gold though, and it is only one Kanga member sitting prime at the top there. 2-0 with a bounty. This Corki will be large. First strike as well. Lots of gold for him to talk about. The all-in, the stun, it connects, the knock-up with that Glacial Fissure. And it's going to take 3 people to take down this bot. The Sejuani is ever so tanky with the Frostfire. But ultimately will fall on down to the chomp of a Trundle.
And I feel like they could have given that kill to the Ezreal once the Braum stun had connected. LEG hooks.
Oh, it's on! Oh, it's a beautiful all-in. It's a huge shutdown. Prime time was that kill.
Ooh,
the cannon barrage is there. Liv looks for it. And Liv will claim down the Veigar. That's nice. Can they find anything more, however? They're trying to cut off the exit point as the rest of Kanga rush from bottom river. But I think Mammoth might just be out scot-free.
Yeah, and Lionel also forced to disengage here because his team pivots towards mid. No Herald to be taken. That's already secured by Meifan. And instead of going for a bot turret, they try and assist the play that Lived was making. And again, retroactively, they're not playing to get something themselves. They are just existing on the map.
But what a great hook. I mean, it was a missed cage, but ultimately, LEG was on.
Yeah, I mean, the hook was great from LEG. Almost a little bit too much, to be fair, from Mammoth. The two members of Voice and LEG seem to be enough damage. Flash there for both of them, and Reufury flashes in to try and steal it with his ult. The ult doesn't even connect. He was dead before it. And then ends up dying to a keg combo and a Gangplank ultimate. Again, fair play to Liv for making it work, for being in the right place. You know, didn't use the teleport to get there, just kind of knew where the play was going to be.
If we know anything about Voice, regardless of the champion and the pun for the champion he's on right now, he does have that killer instinct, right? He's got it on the Lucian. He's always going to go for those hero moments where he can look to try and pop off and shine. And you know, sitting at 2-0, at least he got out. 2-item spike, feeling very comfortable, very strong compared to where this Ezreal is.
I mean, Ezreal does have cheap items, so if there's one thing to consider here, absolutely feeling strong Voice. There's a chance that if business as usual continues, Lionel will hit the 2-item spike in relatively short order. Again, would have been nice for him to get that kill onto Papryze, but nevertheless, that went into the hands of Foreigner. Voice very large. And I do think this next Drake is just almost uncontestable. Reflected through where Kanga are positioned right now is...
It's a trifecta. It's an absolute pincer. He chucks up the fissure. He responds in similar frozen kind. There's the knock-up. There's the Trundle wall as well. And thankfully this time it is Liv that can pick up that kill. Denied away from the jungle. Mammoth, however, are going to say, we'll sacrifice, having seen 3 members of you up top, we summon the Heralds, we get a big chunk into that tier 2.
Yeah, straight into the Drake also, right? Not going to be able to be contested by Kanga, so they'll get the mid-outer, they'll be happy with that one. A second charge, a free Drake, soul point, everything going so well for Mammoth. All they need to do is turn what feels like momentum in this game into a tangible gold advantage, because right now they have none of that.
And that's just so crazy to me, right? Because I was saying at the very beginning, only 10 minutes in, the gold is dead even. You're so happy if you're scaling in a position right now as Kanga, but I still can't believe, based on what sort of dominance we see from Mammoth, the gold is literally still dead even.
There is Meifan hovering, but that's a package Corki. That is a dangerous play to make.
Depth charge forces out that package, absolutely. Reufury comes across, he's missed it with the cage. The Everfrost gets moved across, Papryze jumps in, looking to lock down this Corki, can't get that final auto to stun him in place, but finds it onto Foreigner instead. There's the hook, the killer instinct. Voice is so low. True shot barrage takes up the Sejuani, and at least Kanga will get one for their troubles. But by my god, these fights are getting close.
Lionel Fighto still alive means that Kanga constantly have a fighting chance. You just have to keep that in mind. We are scaling into this game. That is a level 13 Corki that's starting to ramp up and is doing some really meaningful damage. The engage was okay, right? Using a Nautilus ultimate onto a packaged Corki forces the package. Fighto actually mistiming that one, right? Like the knock-up's still going to hit him at the very end of it. Teleports come in on 2 flanks. This is Mammoth doing everything to force this. Papryze walks the long way around instead of queuing over the wall, so doesn't get in at the same time as Reufury, who has to be respectful and disengage after attempting. The hook from LEG saves this, right? Is a redeeming feature. But during all of this, Fighto's just kiting back, Lionel's just kiting back, and they are putting down some serious damage. That can get worse.
Certainly can. 2-item spike has now been achieved there by Fighto, and it's not too far away before Lionel's tier becomes evolved and really starts to also pack that cheap punch to try and match that off this Kaiser as well. And
which even CS with a Gangplank means you're losing, right?
Absolutely.
Keep that in mind. The extra money in his pockets. Lived is going to be sitting in a very comfortable spot. And that is considering he lost his turret, right? This is, looking at it now, second in goal.
wow, yeah, there you have it.
Camped, ganked, lost his turret first by himself in a 1v1. Still second in goal.
And this seems to be the theme, right? If we do have these proficient GP players in our region, they will carry the damage, they will carry the goal. It doesn't matter if they do lose the lane. Ultimately, they've been put in positions where they can win the game. Now, maybe Tien's not been as fortunate up against Mammoth, right, where he did put in a lot of damage and farmed up a ton of gold, but it does warrant the reason why GP is so highly prized.
Mammoth definitely familiar with beating Gangplanks, however, that do 48% of their team's damage.
Felt so bad to see that stat.
Think back to Tieng in Pieces game. That was a rough one. But still, I would say for Kanga, much more of a fighting chance in terms of scaling. Right? It's not just the Gangplank that's going to be doing damage in team fights. It's going to be the Ezreal, the Corki with it. And then Braum, Trundle are just so well built as champions for peeling and keeping your carries alive. They are just so extremely competent at this, especially into what was the first pick Sejuani. Now 1 and 4. Hasn't got a lot of resistance in terms of items, is more health stacked right now. But the Trundle's going to make sure whatever resistances you have just don't exist.
I do wonder, will he go for the Frozen Heart, or will he decide to go for the more typical tank items like the Force of Nature, for instance, and just try to weather the storm of all this magic poke? Because ultimately, the Viego is still incredibly strong, flawless KDA, and can't be too far away from the Death Stance.
And this is the thing about the Fimbulwinter choice that I'm not a fan of, is what does this actually mean when an Ezreal and a Corki are hitting you with abilities, right? Like, where is the armor for the Ezreal, for the Gangplank that you were laning against? And whereas the magic resistance for the Corki as the game scales, because instead you've spent 3,000 gold on health and a shield while in combat, crowd controlling someone, which isn't how your opponents operate. So what this says to me is there is now a strict requirement with this build on engaging at all costs. Like, if you're Mammoth, and to be fair, that's what their comp kind of wants to do. Veigar's, I would say, the only one that feels like a little bit like the odd one out, but has the Predator, has the ability to be super aggressive and go forwards, and can also build tanky. Isn't going to in this game. They all want to go forwards. They all want to engage. And so, Mammoth, it's about playing for this Drake. It's about no hesitation. If you hesitate, you lose.
I do wonder then, what does it mean in terms of itemization going forward? Much like you mentioned, will we ever see an Anathema's change? That's certainly a consideration here for the Veigar in the mid lane, as we've seen in past games. Also for the Sejuani too, if he just wants to say, we are engaging at all costs, forget about durability, lock down that one key target. 20 seconds, soul point up for grabs, and Kanga are here to contest.
Yeah, they're starting to... They're fully grouped as 5 actually now as well, looking to clear out as much vision as they can. Mid-priority does seem to be the name of the game here. Mammoth, they don't care about side lanes. They are still grouped. They're players for the Herald. One good Veigar stun could kick everything off. Remember, Lionel, no cleanse, is a teleport Ezreal. Fighto does have cleanse.
Hook is on, it goes on Tieng Sii once again. The Valkyrie is forced to burn out. The Glacial Prison does not connect. It's not after the target they want. Nautilus already fallen on down. It's being picked up. Both supports looking to get quite explosive, and Papryze has jumped in 1v5 completely isolated from the rest of his team. So we're engaging, but where are you?
Yeah, jumps over the wall to engage. Reufury going to look to try and stun. They're still looking. Tieng Sii in trouble.
Yes, that's going to be a kill that's being found as a result of them going for this Drake. Now Lionel looking to try and take these members down. They flash across the wall. The pillar goes down. The cage is there. The double kill found by Voice. And he wants to have one of those hero moments. The shutdown found by this Corki. Level 14 is Fighto. He's getting strong, and they've denied the soul point.
Really dicey fight. Very skirmishy back and forth. All of the carries still alive and standing. Liv, Fighto, Lionel for the side of Kanga, and then it is Voice and Reufury for the side of Mammoth. It means that the play ends up as a wash, right? Nothing is going to happen as it fizzles, but you can see this reflected in the damage because it's about which tank dies first. And one team has a Trundle and a Braum and a Gangplank ultimate that zones away Reufury and Meifan. Voice forced to flash, and it's the zone control from Kanga's composition that just comes in too clutch. The positioning advantage they had by having mid-priority, which results in them having first move into the river. Just a little bit too good. And if Kanga's comp has first move, they are at their strongest. We see the remnants of this fire. Again, really well played by Mammoth to kite back at this point, but it was already lost, right? The objective was already lost. That was Kanga just trying a little bit too much.
Now Kanga up by 2,000 gold at the 24-minute mark, and they're feeling okay. We're getting strong. Lulins has just now been purchased by the level 15 Corki. Happy days for them to talk about. The Death Stance is now finally completed, but that is Meifan's first death of this game. They will turn all their attention now to Voice, much like they've done in splits gone by, where he says, I'm 5-0, I'm insanely large.
Oh, it's huge.
Give me all the opportunities to pop off, and I may just deliver.
Infinity Edge third as well, right? Remember that the Plasma stack's working with crowd control from Team Comp. He's got stuns everywhere to help him out with this one. He's going to be doing an insane amount of damage, but has no summoners. This game could just slow down until the next Drake, because that's when all the summoner spells come back up and available again for both teams. You're really relying on Voice carrying at this point, for sure, in regards to damage output. One good cage from Reufury, though, can still 1v9 a team fight. You know, one big Veigar combo with the full AP Veigar build. Looks like it is going to be a death cap second as well. Very influential.
Chocolate feels so good on a champion like Veigar. Passive AP and just blast that up chronically at this stage of the game as Kanga are really exerting all their poking pressure. There is the Anathema's change, not on the side we expected. Coming out from Foreigner instead, that's enough to force Meifan to ult away! And he's died to the burn, it's beautiful!
I don't know how Fighto got that one exactly. I think it was maybe first strike off like a... I don't actually know. Either way, they'll take the kill straight onto the Drake. Reufury going to have a look. Voice nearby. Oh, that was absurdly close.
Clutch your heart for 2 seconds there, because they really did look like a Void Missile would put in a fair chunk of damage. But ultimately, Kanga can rest easy. They've got the Baron. The traders, Papryze went bot side, picked up the bot tier 1 in a 4v5.
And once again, though, the game starts to swing. I mean, a needless face check, right? You have 2 blue trinkets on your team ready to go. And it's just a Viego putting his face in with no flash. Forced to ult away, ends up dying for that one. Even if he didn't die, Kanga can start the Baron because he has to go from base. They kind of get the best case scenario. They continue to scale really freely now, right? The game's just... What was, again, and we said this during the game, Mammoth momentum was never Mammoth with a gold lead. It was, you know, at most 500 gold, it felt like.
Yeah.
They have such a large Kai'Sa, yes, but what can the Kai'Sa do if it's not just Mammoth engaging? And the further behind they fall, the harder it is to engage, because the more value the Trundle gets and the more damage the carries of Kanga provide.
And we've just seen how much of a great job this Trundle as well as this Gangplank have done of separating the herd, right? Forcing Papryze to go into a position where he says, we're engaging, but they just can't back him up. Eclipse actually going to be purchased here by Lionel's Ezreal. Just another spanner in the whole conversation as to what is the best mythic item choice. But regardless of that, this GP now stacking up those cloaks and looking to try and one-shot some players.
I like Eclipse here as well personally. It's actually a bit more sustained. You know, mythic passive and full conversation aside, the fact that it provides lifesteal is staying power, which is really valuable. Of course, you could consider the Conqueror Trinity Force with what your opponents are going to be doing in team fights, but Kanga don't want to team fight. They want to poke.
Oh, that's a great
Big
cage.
stun.
Triple cage into Fighto as well. He's down to 50%. True Barrage connects onto 2. Fighto is level 16. He's got Baron, and he's got a stopwatch. It's a very large Corki. And he's just going to lifesteal off the next 2 waves.
Yeah, Ravenous Hydra's there, but remember his package is on a timer, so it has to be used really quickly here. Papryze spotted.
Papryze spotted. The package has got onto him. He's just going to disengage across the wall. He's going to follow him twice, taking a 1v1. They go for that. The Baron is on. Rather, the Dragon is on instead. The Cannon Barrage is there, but a Soul Point has been claimed by Mammoth. Limp's going to die. Meifan flashes in and claims his soul. Turrets are going down. Minion pressure working in favor of Kanga. They just need to walk forward. Lionel so low. He's got no more summoners left in the tank, and now it's a Trundle up against Free, and he's got nowhere to hide.
Papryze, just gets pillared off there, but on a Q cooldown, perhaps can close the distance. We will see if this slow connects.
Oh, the Frozen Domain giving him so much movement speed right now, just to run away, just out of range.
He's out.
Of the flames.
He's
He's
dancing.
emoting, he's dancing. He knows how confident he is in this great escape, and Mammoth won't give up without a chase. He's going to reveal them with that one. He's going to go for the
Baron
Empowered
recall.
Recall. He's completely juked them.
Just gives them the do-si-do, breaks their ankles and says, I'm out, and my people need me back to base. Cheeky dance. I mean, well played by Foreigner to survive, but it's his team that still loses the team fight. It's the Ocean Soul secured. And honestly, just a full breakdown in communication here by Kanga is probably the nicest way to put it. A lot of questionable decisions. Fighto going for a 1v1 after just cleansing out of a Veigar stun by dashing with both Ws into a Sejuani, who just one-hits him. so he's not there to poke and do what his composition wants to do. Gangplank very early death here because a Trundle and a Braum are engaging. They're not kiting and peeling. Kanga forgot what their composition does. They have completely forgotten they've tried team fighting instead.
And they've just let Voice literally play the game to his own style. They've said, look, you're strong. How about become a little bit stronger? Let us just give you a silver platter to pop off and perform. And now with red buff and an Ocean Soul, his job became that much easier. They were down a significant amount of gold by that point. I believe about 4 to 5k, but that's closing up very quickly.
If Kanga had Mammoth's comp, they won that fight. I mean, if Fighto was a Z, it makes sense where he's gone. But nevertheless, that was huge from Mammoth. That is potentially game-winning levels of team fight from Mammoth, but they're still 2,000 gold down. They still don't really have priority. How much does an Ocean Soul mean for Mammoth if they're not dealing damage themselves to apply that healing, right? It'll help for in-combat sustain for sure. Kai'Sa has the W to hit. It's really it. When it comes to team fights, absolutely it might have some value, but you know, if Kanga got an Ocean Soul, that would have been overpowered.
So it would be a fraction broken. Next Baron up in 1 minute. We're going to get ourselves another rare chance of seeing an Elder.
Baron and Tieng Sii actually working together now as well. Skimmy, we find ourselves in much more of a 5v5 ARAM style of league. Again, it is still Mammoth to serve. They are the ones that have to engage. Not clearing the flank ward directly behind them yet. Okay. And this is what Kanga's going to do. Just post up in mid, throw skill shots, just fling it at a wall and hope it sticks. That hurt.
Yeah, I really hope, though, that you just don't get turned upon by the likes of this
Oh, that's it.
Sejuani. Oh, no, I don't know about that one. There's the knock-up. There's the potential kill onto Reufury. He's just gone! One pistol weapon, he's down! The cannon barrage just got 3 people
Voice is in trouble.
And Voice has gone for the 1v4 with a killer instinct in. He's been shut on down. Lionel says justice for Corki. He takes the 1v1. And this time, Rusty, that looked a whole lot better.
Yeah, Kanga find their heads this time around, right? They sit back, they reassess how they're meant to play this out. Ali G is going to try and cut the wave, but he's missed 2 minions and Fighto's going to one-hit him. Not even remotely close to stopping the game from ending there, and that's exactly what Kanga are after. Looking for Meifan, but most importantly looking for the Nexus, and they've got 15 seconds with no Reufury to stop them.
Plenty of time, and I don't think a Viego can really stop this many people. He's juking, he's jiving, he's hoping that he can wait a long time for his team to come on through. Oh, the poke is absolutely absurd, and at the 32-minute mark, with an ace, Kanga win out their second game.
Kanga with the range, right? Kanga with the scaling. And occasionally they lost themselves, definitely in the source, just disappearing. But when they found themselves, they got the team fight that they were after. They were able to reassess the game again, back to business. And in the end, a clean win. Not clean during the game, but the win moment, very clean.
Very clean on the win moment. A few moments where you think, what on earth was that? But ultimately, when they brought it together and said, this is what our comp is built to do, this is how we execute it, these are the tools we have to prevent them from engaging upon us, it was night and day there, Mac.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. There was a lot of fun going on in those team fights towards the end, and unfortunately, after Reufury just got absolutely deleted. Things went downhill real quick at the end.
Can't believe his own used that.
They managed to get the soul eventually. They managed to turn that crazy team fight, that crazy 1v1 between Fighto and Papryze as well, completely around. And from there, we were thinking, oh, this could end soon. But we didn't think it was going to be ending for Kanga. They'd still managed to do it. And Skimmy, I think that also means you are now ahead of everyone in your predictions, unless I'm wrong.
He is.
I was the only one that went for Kanga. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Are you the only one that's undefeated, or did you?
No, we've all been defeated.
we've all
'cause
lost.
We all
We've
went
all
for
lost,
peace on that one game, I'm pretty sure.
Well, anyway, we'll have a look at that one when it comes around. But for now, it's time to have a quick look at the replays, at
What a
everything that
game.
went down again. Because, look, blink and you'll miss a lot of the action. We were actually saying a lot of compliments about what we saw from Mammoth throughout that early game. You know, roaming as 5, making sure to play around the objectives, always been there as well.
I think the Mammoth team comp was built around those early skirmishes. We have the Viego and Kai'Sa providing that early game damage, and we have the Nautilus and Veigar that had the CC for these objectives. So that was really well played Mammoth, although Papryze got caught just a little bit of times, maybe 2 times when he wasn't with the team, but that is okay. But this game is a prime example of it doesn't matter how perfect your early game goes, if you make one mistake against a scaling comp, it's all over from there. And that's exactly what happened for that dragon fight.
Yeah.
And with Corki, Gangplank, and Ezreal, they all have that long-range DPS that Kai'Sa cannot deal with, and that is why Kanga stood on the top.
Yeah, Trundle says it's all ogre now, even though of course he's not an ogre, but at the same time...
That's what he says though.
Does it really?
No.
Oh.
I was on board.
Oh, I was
Ooh,
on board.
Corki.
Anyway, it was funny.
Oh, damage check.
Yep.
9.3k.
A couple of
Not
resets
too
in
bad.
there, big damage in the fights, as well as a whole bunch of kills throughout the game. So, you know, best Viego performance I feel like we've seen this split, or have we seen someone else pop off on him?
We've seen Mammoth pop off with Viego in a prior game, but yeah, it does seem like Mammoth are consistently pretty good with it.
Okay, now anything you want to touch on from, obviously the draft, you know, slightly changed up with the patch we're in, but anything in terms of the items that we're seeing from those changes that maybe came into the mix today, just maybe some more tank options?
Not in terms of items, but
No.
I just want to mention how Kai'Sa voice had nearing 400 CS at 32 minutes. That was absolute nuts, and he was full build, although 12.9k damage. It was just way too hard to do that DPS on Kai'Sa into that comp where they had such long range. It was just insane.
I was just going to say, look at that gold swing where it went up like this, because it's like, oh, we forgot how to play our comp. Oh, we know how to play it again.
Oh, that's right. It pokes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, win.
Just the absolute cavern of
Yeah.
gold there. Now we do have Lived on the line to have a quick chat to after that big W over the top of Mammoth. Lived, were you ever worried up top there?
Was a little bit worried. It wasn't the cleanest game by us, but managed to pull it back by the end.
Beautiful.
So about that team fight where I believe it was Fighto that got solo killed by Papryze on the Sejuani. So what went wrong for that team fight, and how did you guys turn it around?
Well, we weren't expecting the fighter with the Corki package to go for the solo Sejuani on the side lanes there instead of the other 4, so it was a bit of a surprise, but yeah, it was everyone was a bit caught off guard by that one, but yeah, all worked out by the end, I guess.
What about just that Sejuani pick? Did that catch you off, you know, having to lane up against that this early in this new patch?
Not really. I think it's been played in a lot of other regions, and I've played against it quite a few times in scrims now, so I think I've laned against it enough to understand how to play against it, even though I did die once, so let's not forget about that.
And we do have Fighto playing the Corki today, where he's always played the Azir in the past few games. Do you think this meta really matches with Kanga's team style, how you guys are playing towards that late game?
I definitely think this meta specifically for Fighto is really good. I think his champion pool matches with it perfectly, so it's actually pretty lucky. I think everyone else also matches pretty well. I think there's sort of just dog junglers at the moment, so for an expert at those champions. So I think it's ended up pretty lucky with how the meta turned out for us.
Yeah, very good, very good. Well, we'll let you enjoy the glory of the big win. Congratulations on that one, Lived, and I hope, I guess we might see you tomorrow as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. See you later.
Always good to chat with him. Always good to get his take on things. And, you know, for once we didn't talk about anime as well, so we really changed
So
it up.
true.
in this
I
interview.
it didn't even occurred to me.
Next time.
Yeah, next time for sure. Now, look, before we get into that Dare MVP graphic, we are, of course, going to have that discussion again. Now, from Kanga, who do we see as the big old MVP? Because we started discussing Mammoth MVPs there for a moment, having a look at a few honorable mentions, but they didn't win, so we can't, of course, give it to them. Who was the key there?
Can we give it to the dog player?
The dog player?
The jungler. I feel like...
Didn't get
Sorry,
enough
I
recognition.
got stuck with it. Dog champs is very much a vernacular in League. It's giving recognition to I think someone who played consistently good the whole game, where I feel like everyone else was very up and down. Right, Liv did well but got solo killed in lane and had his moments. I thought Fighto did well but then literally entered.
Got mind control,
Anytime I think someone's doing well, they found a way to prove me wrong.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
I feel like it was just solid, right from far out.
I think it's a fair shout. Yeah, I'd go with that as well. Plus the dance.
The
Right.
dance.
That was beautiful.
Yep. Also, you know, picking the right champ in the draft to deal with the big old fat tank up top there as well. So,
Sure.
not too bad. All right, we'll give it to Foreigner. So, Foreigner is going to be the Dare MVP for today. Big stats as well. 1, 4, and 12. Look, did die a few times in those team fights, but 76% KP is pretty damn good. It feels bad for the damage share, though, because he did have a lot of high damage carries on his team.
As Rusty said, dog champion.
he
Unlucky.
was simply the shield.
Yes.
Yes.
Just the... I wish there was just like a stat for...
Well, damage taken. Where's the damage taken?
He was a role player. He did his job.
We need a tank set of stats. Anyway, look, we are, of course, set up for all the damage dealers to be the Dare MVPs, but today, it was the dog in the jungle. Now, it's time for a break. Before we jump on into that one, what are our hot takes going into match 2?
Hot takes.
Yeah.
What kind of hot takes do you want?
I don't know, like, you should buy real spicy food from
Peace won't lose
Menulog.
in 20 minutes.
Oh,
Hey, on that note, it's time to go to another break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you just after this for the second match of the day. It's Chiefs and Peace after this.
Oh, that's
Sejuani, oh no, that one. There's the knock up. There's the potential kill onto Reufury. He's just gone! One pistol whip and he's down! The cannon barrage has got 3 people
Voice is in
in place,
trouble.
and Voice has gone for the 1v4. The killer instinct in. He's been shut on down. Lionel.
Hey, look, menu pong.
Mate, how's it feel to come on into the LCO and start with a win?
I mean, I think my win rate is substantially higher than my OPL one. 20%, not that good. 100%, that's pretty nice.
That's pretty good.
that is pretty good. The first 100% win rate player we have this split. Okay, well,